Great. Can you all hear me? Awesome. I know we're getting to nearing the end of a very long conference, so thank you all for being here. I hope we can bring back the energy up a little bit. The topic today will be hopefully something everyone can connect with. We'll be getting into basically what I see as the next wave of mainstream adoption for our whole space in working with big global brands to adopt the tech mostly through NFTs. So we'll get into some fun details. I think even if you're not with a brand, I mean, I imagine you're all here because you work in the Web3 ecosystem. So even if you've never been in brand marketing or in consumer or worked in anything, I certainly hadn't before. We are all consumers ourselves of brands. And so it's kind of easy to see how this future might shake out. So always play to introduce yourself. I'm Camilla. I have been working full-time in this industry for about 6 years. Was at Consensus with Jordan, who went just before me. So it's great to see some friends here. Worked at Consensus in the early ETH ecosystem to help bring products to market like MetaMask and Infura and Truffle. And then went on to Serotonin as the founding team with Amanda Cassett to work with a bunch of amazing Web3 startups across the space as their marketing partner. And now the last 2 years with Mojito. And we can get into the details. Our team is awesome. Our CEO, Rocky Miller, has been building enterprise products for almost 2 decades at JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. Our COO and co-founder, Matthew Isles, has also been building Web3 products since about 2016 with the Blockchain for Journalism project Civil way back when, and was a digital marketer before, started and exited a marketing agency. And Amanda Cassett, the former CMO of Consensus, essentially bringing to market and growing Ethereum in the early days of the Ethereum ecosystem. So Mojito, before we get into the fun details of the stack and what's happening, just some of the brands we've worked with, we power the back-end marketplaces, sort of end-to-end Web3 enterprise infrastructure for Sotheby's, for CAA, the talent agency, for galleries like Pace, on the art side, a bunch of sports teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, the Tampa Bay Rays, Liverpool Football Club. We'll get into some what are those use cases a little bit later. And some amazing global brands like Pernod Ricard for their wines and spirits, Mattel. We've worked with Prada and Givenchy on the luxury side, so totally across industry. We're just their fun back-end partner. So just to take a step back and set the scene, like you guys all know this, you're in the room because you're Web3 experts. I'm obviously preaching to the choir, but just to explain a little bit thematically, like what we're seeing and where we are in terms of adoption in the ecosystem. So 2021 to 2022, wild time for NFTs. When you say the word, we even use it colloquially among ourselves. This is what comes to mind a lot from just like what pops into our brain from an aesthetic standpoint. Certainly this is what pops into the brains of like brands when they hear NFTs for the first time. 2022, word of the year, it had entered the zeitgeist. People think of collectibles, they think of Bored Apes, they think of incredible digital art, like generative art, like Tyler Hobbs. This room knows better that NFTs is just a file format. It's just a construct, and if anything, to use them to just host a JPEG is like using a very sophisticated military tank to carry a kitten. Like there's so much more that tech can do. And some brands who have been learning for a couple years now have come to the conclusion to see everything else that tech can do. 2 brands that are leaders in the space, Nike, who's been sort of experimenting in public for the last couple years. They bought Artifact, they did a bunch of digital wearables. Their conclusion now, sort of the outcome of where they see full Web3 integration going outside of experimentation, is their .swoosh platform. They have a 5-10-year roadmap and plan for that .swoosh platform that's only in the very, very beginning stages of what it is, as they see as the new way for consumer engagement, gamified, playable consumer engagement, for a consumer to engage in a brand that they love in a new and digital-first way that is so much more in between liking a post on Instagram or buying something. There's so many more ways in between to engage, and Web3 is the perfect tool to empower and capture that. Same thing with Starbucks. Biggest loyalty program arguably in the world, 50 million members. It drives more revenue than their retail. They have dozens of people working on their loyalty team. Like if anyone knows loyalty, it's Starbucks at a global level. And they are at the table fully embracing Web3 with their Odyssey platform. So some smart, friggin' innovative brands are at the table building long-term engagement. Why and what do they see? And how is this gonna drive essentially what we see is like the gateway drug into mainstream adoption? So going to speed up a little bit. Another helpful metaphor of like what's been happening with brands and what's happening now. I sometimes like to think of what's been happening in the last 2 years for brands entering Web3 is they've been throwing a house party. Outside, they've been doing a drop. They don't even need permission from mom and dad. They're just throwing a house party in the back house of the brand to see who comes. Totally experimentally, rented furniture. They're slapping a brand logo on an image and they're selling it to the market. Mostly to the same 50,000 active wallets that they're sort of trying to drive revenue from. Their KPIs for those sales are financial. It's how much money can we make from this drop. They think of it as a very traditional product launch, where you build it, you launch it, you make money, it's done. Where brands are now, and especially as the market's cooled over the last year, they've kind of taken a step back from like their house party planning, and they've moved into like what the tech can do. They've learned a ton over the last 12 to 24 months, and now they're coming back to the market and back to the table, working with companies like us to build what I'd call like more of a home renovation. So now they're building an extension of the house. They do need the parents' approval. They do need every other part of the brand's approval. They need a budget. They need a long-term plan. How is this extension going to fit into the rest of the house? How is the room going to be used? How does it integrate with sales, finance, legal, business, marketing, feedback loops into product, everything? It's no longer a side backyard experiment. They're now thinking long-term about what's happening and how to embrace the tech, like the Nikes and the Starbucks. So Web3, powering the future of consumer engagement. What does consumer engagement even mean? I don't know if you guys can see. Great, you can see. So this is not a Web3 graph. This is every marketer's playbook for pre-purchase engagement from a customer to a brand, during purchase engagement, and post-purchase engagement. It's things like, before you buy something, how do you find out about it? Obvious ways: social media, word of mouth, digital ads, direct mail, website, influencer marketing, maybe promos and deals. And then there's the during purchase experiment. What is the in-store experience? Or increasingly, what is the e-commerce digital experience? What do the try-ons look like? How do they know you've arrived to the site? What is that online checkout? The packaging? Increasingly, things like supply chain information, what you're buying. What does that receipt or that invoice look like? We're here in Paris, where they love to still give out paper receipts for absolutely everything. I don't think that's where we're headed long-term from a digital perspective. So what does that experience look like? And then post-purchase, which is where it gets very exciting in Web3, because for traditional brands, the moment of purchase is not where the consumer journey ends, because this is kind of a loop, but that's driving towards all of it. Like, it kind of ends at purchase. Where in Web3, as we all know, the consumer journey sort of starts at mint. And so it starts at purchase, mint, if there is a financial thing attached. Post-purchase are things like, what does that customer service experience look like? Where are the forums you go to talk about it? What is that brand promise? You know, if you just needed utility, you could carry around a canvas bag. But so why do people spend thousands of pounds on luxury bag? What is that brand promise? What is the extended experience? Things like, you know, how do I use my online forums about it? What is the brand giving you that's a digital extension of a physical thing? Alo Yoga did an awesome project with this, with the token attached with the purchase. So you bought the physical ski suit, like you do normally, and then you had a digital twin or a token with purchase that unlocked extended digital experiences with that ski suit. I don't know exactly what they did, but you can imagine that being things like discount on lift tickets, ski videos, something else, a digital extension to the physical thing you're buying. And so if you think about all these brand touch points, Web3 could sort of change almost every single one of them. Either to capture, like hashing every experience, if at every time you're minting a token and you're signing with wallet, as that user journey gets more seamless and elegant, or using some of the actual utility from a sort of use standpoint, like redeemables for purchase, certificate of authenticity, supply chain management, things like that on the receipt and the invoice. Certainly when it comes to things like extended digital experience and resale, Web3 kind of enables a lot of this in different ways. So what does that look like? I'm going to get a little bit quickly, if you'll indulge me, into the data side, because that's essentially what we're talking about for brands. They really see Web3 and NFTs as sort of the new cookie, in a way. And so there's a lot like happening thematically, globally, legally right now that sort of has enabled this rise and this approach to Web3 as a source of first-party data. So there's two kinds of cookies. There's first-party cookies, which are largely good cookies. Even us, like Web3 privacy maxis, good cookies, beneficial user experience. These are things like, the site remembers what's in your shopping cart when you leave and come back. These are things like they remember your email and login. Site customization driven towards you. The data that's captured is just with the brand and just between the brand and you. Then there's third-party cookies, bad cookies. Well, increasingly bad cookies because they're getting regulated out of existence. These are things like web tracking that then track everywhere else you go on the internet. And the goal of these is not a better customized experience for you checking out, it's for ad targeting. Now, this is not inherently evil. Some people, Gen Z, love ad targeting. They're like, I love my Instagram feed. I get served up great stuff. It feels like a more customized web. But the thing that feels a bit icky about it right now is that it's not a choice. So it's happening to us, these third-party cookies. And from that privacy crackdown, which is why, there was a global survey done, and like 75% of people don't trust their companies with their data, obviously. And so these are the kind of cookies that extends into that trust and even distrust of a brand. Firefox, Safari already automatically block third-party cookies. Chrome will, I think, early next year. Obviously, crypto-native Brave blocks these already. Here in the EU, everyone's familiar with much more forward-thinking regulations like GDPR and e-privacy that make you opt in, which is why you get all those pop-ups for every site here. You have to opt in. US, a little bit more open season because it's all done by a state level. California was the first state to pass Consumer Privacy Act. Actually, I'm a very proud sister. My sister just recently helped to push through Florida's Privacy Act for a state for consumer privacy. So this is changing. It's a changing landscape to how we interact with trust with data. So this is very much Web 2, but it is being changed. How does Web 3 fit into it? So when we speak to these brands, they think, okay, no more third-party data, no more ad targeting. It's all about first-party data over third-party cookies. So what kind of first-party data can you get? Right now, it's a pretty limited stack. They know like age, location, maybe, how much you've spent with that brand. Often not even that, because a lot sell through third parties and resellers, so they didn't even have that information about you. And so there's this whole changing landscape from a data perspective, and brands are now in the middle of thinking, what does our consumer strategy look like, connected consumer strategy look like from a data perspective over the next 5 years? There's also this idea of this race to intimacy that's happening with brands and consumers right now. Especially Gen Z and millennials have an insane bullshit meter for like inauthentic communication from brand to consumer, even more than we do, certainly more than our parents did. And what does that intimacy look like between brands and consumer? It's personalized experiences. And it's rewarding them for loyalty. It's offering back benefits, so it's not just one-directional value extraction, or not value extraction, you're getting a product out of it, but much more targeted loyalty and a more intimate relationship. Web3 comes into that because as essentially consumers become the platform, which is the whole kind of idea of data ownership that our tech allows, is that instead of my data being fragmented and segmented across a lot of different places, I basically carry all of my data with me through my wallet or through NFT identity, especially with the new token contracts like 6553, and I'm going to get that wrong. One is account abstraction, and one is sort of adding like an account within an NFT, essentially. And so with the wallet is the base of the identity, and that is kind of an open question of how that'll evolve. Like a lot of us already have multiple wallets that we kind of treat like file formats. Or with a new account abstraction, you can have one NFT that kind of acts as your account with these brands. And every time you interact with the brand, whether it's through an ad or in store or post-purchase, instead of like collecting a token at each point, collecting a POAP, or like collecting marbles with each brand engagement in your wallet, it's essentially updating the metadata from that one token as it goes on over time. So same amount of data, same amount of customization in terms of what the brand then wants to allow. So it's either what looks like tokens or updating metadata, all based on sort of the wallet identity, which becomes the new user identity, and the user being the platform here, the omni-channel platform. That gets super interesting as well when you can connect off-chain or Web2 CRM data. So let's say my historic global loyalty with Nike over the years. If I'm joining the .swoosh platform, I don't necessarily have to start net new. They can use an existing CRM and connect it with my .swoosh NFT, which they've literally done. The first thing you do when joining the ecosystem is mint your .swoosh ID that becomes your dynamic updating metadata NFT for all the things you do. And they can pull in connected CRM to their existing data to that and understand my existing loyalty. So this is sort of another visualization of, you can just tap to connect. I mean, we all minted a POAP when we signed in to EthCC today. This gets really interesting, though, when you collect other brand engagements. Let's say I'm we're here in Paris. Let's say I'm a Dior super fan, and so I walk into the flagship store at every city I go to. I walk in, I click an NFC chip. I mint a token for having checked in. That's so much more information about me and my brand loyalty that Dior never knew about me before. I might be an amazing person to target for a discount or a benefit, or to reward that engaging with the brand in some way. So now to the fun bit. Now while we're all here, what does that stack look like? So this is literally what we've built out at Mojito. All of those ideas that I just spoke about are awesome, and that's what gets the brands super excited about it. So let's say you have an amazing vision for how this looks, like a connected marketing campaign for your consumer. How do you bring it to market, and how do you bring it to life, and how do you build it? Which is where we come in. So we've built sort of an all-in-one API set, end-to-end. Everything, and this is all of it, or for some of the brands, they only use bits of this stack. And it kind of follows the user journey. So anything from new wallet creation. Obviously, we have the crypto native Web3 journey. You go to a site, you connect your wallet, you pay in crypto, or you mint with your existing wallet with your MetaMask or Wallet Connect. Also, increasingly for these brands, and there are hundreds of millions of global non-Web2 audience who don't have a wallet, who don't have crypto, it's to make it as easy as possible for them to log in with an email, get a wallet created for them in order to mint their first claimed free NFT or purchase with fiat in a new wallet that's created. This is actually a part of our platform that's modular. There's so much innovation happening right now on the wallet side, especially for new users. Industry standard at the moment is MPC wallets, multi-party computational wallets for new users. It abstracts away a little bit of the private key management that is such a barrier to entry for a lot of new people, like your friends and family that aren't in crypto. If they're wanting to just claim a free NFT for going to an event, and it's like setting up a new wallet, write down your private key, but not all at once, but don't lose it, but put it in your mom's closet, but in different places, it's losing a lot of people. So easy wallet creation, but sharded and securely stored for that new user to get set up, that they can then choose to bring fully on chain or to transfer those assets into another wallet later on. On the reward side, we handle all of the mechanisms for earned NFTs, as we call them, or free NFTs, but you're sort of earning them through an engagement with a brand. And that dynamic NFTs, as I talked about with 6551, where you can sort of update the NFT like a profile with a brand with updating metadata for all of your interactions. It's what G-Money does for his 90cc community, where if you play his weekend game or if you have a shirt and you give out POAPs, he has that leaderboard of active participants within his community. That's based on dynamic updating metadata. You're not necessarily a leaderboard based on how many sort of new G-Money tokens you've minted. It's more how active are you in the community based on sort of every interaction is like a hash. We manage all of the memberships that brands are super excited about with this tech, like tiered systems and levels, and how do you specifically token gate for different aspects of your community, like token gate experiences with the superfan or not. On the payment side, super simple from a crypto journey. We all know it. Connect your wallet, pay in crypto of your choice, and you're off to the races. And then obviously for our new user global adoption, fiat payments as well. This is another area of our stack where we partner. We've partnered with Coinbase Commerce and MoonPay, Checkout.com. Stripe has an amazing new payments product that they're rolling out. And obviously, whenever you come into fiat and you brush into the existing system, it gets very legally and regulatory complex. And so we've also sort of partnered across Chainalysis, Sardine, Vertex, Onfido to offer fully compliant platforms with tax accounting, KYC, AML fraud checks when needed, which is necessary when we're working with customers like Sotheby's that are selling millions of pounds in art, or customers like Pernod Ricard who are dealing with alcohol and things that need KYC. And then when there is a cost associated with the digital product being sold via NFT, whether that's art or something else, we handle all of that sophisticated drop dynamics as well, like English auctions, increasing bids, Dutch auctions, decreasing bids, buy now, redeemable, discount codes, claimables, ballots, and then marketplaces, essentially how you're interacting and minting or claiming or buying that NFT. So the storefront, where you're first minting directly from the brand, or also fully custom secondary marketplaces, which we just launched a few weeks ago with Sotheby's, which is increasingly interesting for brands. Like if you wanted to just buy a Dolce & Gabbana NFT, they've done a couple different series now. You can go, sure, to OpenSea, Blue looks rare, but if you're a brand new user and you're really just looking to pick that up, going to those marketplaces is sort of more of a Web3 native trader-focused journey, so you should have the option to go directly to the brand. It's buying peer-to-peer, but directly on a brand-curated site. And then you can enforce things like royalties and reward loyalty and everything else. So that was the fun bit of our stack. In summary, it's creating sort of an end-to-end goal of a seamless user experience while still staying true to the tenets of what makes this tech so exciting in the first place, which is digital custody at the individual level, and then what that relationship looks like and changes from the brand to the consumer. The only part of so all that I explained, this stack, we don't have our own marketplace. Mojito doesn't look like anything. We just silently power these brands in the background. So you can play with our tech by going to Sotheby's Marketplace or to Pace Galleries or to the Tampa Bay Rays or Milwaukee Bucks free claimable site. But we sort of just power, we want to see a world where all these brands just have their own essentially Web3 enabled sites and experiences. The part of our Mojito that does look like something is our brand-facing dashboard. And so we set it up, we build their site, whatever features they want to bring their idea to life, and then they can manage their own platform essentially themselves. It's a no-code dashboard where they can list new mints, they can pick the price, is it free, is it buy it now, is it on Polygon, is it on ETH? What's the metadata look like? What is the description? What does the trait data look like? They can customize all themselves essentially just to market around their team. And then also see all the analytics and reporting, like how did the sale go? What does the P&L look like? If there's a cost associated, how many wallets have minted? I won't go in too much time because I got my minute flag, but just to case studies, I think I mentioned before, we've powered the marketplaces for Sotheby's and Pace. Digital art for NFTs was one of the first immediate use cases of this tech, to be able to own a digital art piece for the first time. And so Sotheby's was actually our first client and worked with Pace as well. We've driven over 120 million of sales with Sotheby's. Recently, the Amazing Goose that went for sale, and with Pace Gallery as well for their first buy now auction, on-chain auction with Tyler Hobbs and Claire Silver earlier this year. So those are all paid mints, if you will, a cost associated with buying an NFT. For these, it was free mints, so Earnables, as we spoke about, with both the Milwaukee Bucks and Tampa Bay Rays. Similar use case for both. The Tampa Bay Rays, they actually have an incredibly loyal fan base for one of their affiliate teams, the Rowdies, not your Web3 user base, hardcore Tampa Bay sports fans, and they wanted to give away a free digital claimable to their season ticket holders. So if you're a season ticket holder, you go to the page, you mint a digital pass, it looks sick, the fans already loved it, and then with that pass, we partnered with Token Proof, you get discounts on food and bev in the stadium, and from a team perspective, they get so much more data about who claimed, where did they use their code, what does that look like, so they can offer better and better experiences for their fans in stadium. We were expecting maybe our internal KPIs were like 15% minted or something. Over 60% of these folks minted it. So that was awesome. And this is getting more into what I spoke about before with the sort of, house party revenue driven. And now that they're moving towards loyalty and engagement, their main KPIs for things like that is not immediate financial revenue. It's three things, which are the holy grail for brands. New customer acquisition, so a more like gamified digital way of engaging with the brand that the younger generation will connect to more. Lowering CAC, lowering the cost of new customer acquisition. It's 7 times cheaper to keep an existing customer than to get a new one. And so they're trying to lower lower the cost for acquiring new customers. And the third one, the holy grail of increased total lifetime value. Again, most brands, especially luxury, but across the board, get 80% of their revenue from 20% of their brands. And so if they can super customize and reward those experiences for those 20% and make them feel amazing for being brand loyalists, give them discounts, benefits, access, that's really where the brands see this happening. And then revenue, brand financial benefits, everything else comes later. And so they're seeing that as a longer term play. Can't be a Web3 conference without dogfooding and experiencing some of our own tech. So for all of you that are still in the room and still alive and still here, thank you for coming out. If you claim this, you can actually test our fully branded, free claimable experience. So this will take you to a site where you can mint your Mojito Insider Pass. This is a free claimable, or again, as we call them, Earnables. You have all earned this for showing up to come to my talk. You are now part of the Mojito Insider. And you can see on the page when it comes there, you can have two options. You can connect your existing wallet and mint, or if you want to check out the new wallet creation process, put in your email, you'll get sent a code, and then you can mint it as well, and a new wallet will be essentially being set up for you in the back end, an MPC wallet. So try it out. Would always love your feedback. I'll be outside after this if anyone wants to chat. And my call to arms for all of you guys, if you thought this was cool and want to partner. One, if you know any brands, family members, friends that are exploring Web3 as a strategy and need a fabulous tech partner, we have an awesome referrals program. So anyone you refer, we can work together on that program and that split. And our APIs are for everyone. Like, we've worked with some pretty fantastic brands, leaders across every industry, but that doesn't mean that we are unaffordably expensive. We have increasingly started to partner with a lot of Web3 native platforms for NFTs who want to use us to fill certain holes of their stack that they're looking to grow and build. So part of our API is available to everybody. And so if you are a Web3 native platform or brand and want to accelerate your roadmap and build some of these functionality, custom secondary, whatever it might be, we also would love to partner there. So thank you all for coming and claiming your Mojito Insider Pass. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in Paris. And it's great to be with you all today.